Hello and welcome to High Ground, Calder High's brand new news programme. In this edition we'll be looking at some of the highlights of this new term. We'll be investigating how the new behaviour for learning is working and asking Mr Ball how he thinks it's working out. We'll also be dropping into a student voice conference to see what important decisions have been made that will affect us all. But first, you've probably heard of Taekwondo, so we took a behind the scenes look at our very own Taekwondo team.
Taekwondo is a martial art. It's about self-development. It's a way of life. It all depends on the person, but generally speaking, it's a feeling you get. It's something you can take pride in. It's something that you can experience a lot of different emotions. For me, it's a passion.
There should be no more, so for one last time, make some noise. Get him, Jay. Who you know fresher than Ho? Riddle me that.
What caused me to start Taekwondo? I've always been interested in martial arts. Initially I started karate. Didn't like that because I had to do press-ups on my bare knuckles on a concrete floor. And years later I started Taekwondo when I changed jobs about 11 years ago for the School Sports Centre, and I'm glad to say I'm still with the same instructor.
Grab your manhole, crack the can open again. Who you gonna find open a hand with no pen? Just draw inspiration.
You need to have an interest, first of all, a general interest in martial arts or Taekwondo, and then you've got to be prepared to sort of commit to it. You know, decide for yourself whether you're going to commit to it and then stick with it. Be consistent, you know, and then you'll get a lot from it. You'll make friends. Self-development, you know, you get that sense of self-achievement when you come to your first grading and you've passed it, all the work that goes into getting your first belt, and then you've achieved it. You get a lot of self-satisfaction from it. It also gives you a lot of confidence as well. You don't, you know, if you've been bullied, I don't know if any of you have been bullied, but if you've been bullied, you sort of walk your shoulders down and you feel very conscious of yourself. Taekwondo gives you that extra air of confidence. It took me about 5 years to get the black belt, and that was one of the most poignant times in my life, a very important part of my life, getting the black belt, achieving that. Very proud of that.
And now part one with our interview with Mr Ball, where he tells us his views on BFL.
What do you think of the BFL?
I think that the behaviour for learning policy is a very important development in the life of the school. As you know, it sets out to praise and reward everything that is really positive. And it's been fabulous this week. We've had the first 2 celebration assemblies, we've been giving out the rewards, and tomorrow we've actually got the very first celebration lunch, and a huge number of people are going to get recognised for the outstanding work that they do in school and their citizenship. I'm worried about the consequences package because I think too many people are continuing as they did before, and we've got too many people in detention. I also worry a little bit that some people have been caught out, and we may need to have an appeals procedure so that people who feel they've not been treated fairly can have their voice heard. But overall, I think it's a very, very interesting and exciting development for the school.
We'll be back later with part 2 of our interview with Mr Ball. But first, let's have a look what was discussed at the Student Voice Conference. What's today all about?
Today's idea is to gather delegates from each year of the school council to come forward and put their ideas to everyone else and create an idea of what everyone thinks should be created throughout Calder High School.
What is your prime idea?
Well, I think that it should be brightened up a bit because most of the school is very old-fashioned and pebble dash and grey and ugly.
Well, we're focusing on the senior yard and just seating areas and shelters where we can all sit, and maybe a graffiti wall to make it brighten up the place and things like that.
Basically, I just want to make it look prettier. Because when it's pretty and when everything's all nice and clean and fresh, then that means that we can it's like a better space to work.
The main idea that everyone submits at the end of the day, that's what will probably go ahead.
If you could change anything in the school, what would it be?
Mainly the toilets, they're disgusting. The classrooms don't really bother me, it's just the toilets, they really are horrible.
The girls' toilets. Girls' gym.
What do you think of the school environment at the moment?
It's not bad, but it can be improved. We're quite lucky as a school because not many schools have a field like our size. The amount of renewable gardens we've got and stuff like that, like the senior yard, the quad, they can all be developed into something better. So it's not bad, but there is still room for improvement, and that's what today's all about.
It's all right, but it's all a bit concrete. It's all a bit sort of man-made and a bit like mucky.
How do you think the school could help the environment?
You could ask local communities, and we've been given a budget to spend it on. I don't know, there's loads of ideas, renewable resources, solar panels, stuff like that. It'll all help in the long run, I think.
How do you think the school could help the environment?
Recycling a lot of paper, because you see like teachers handing out strips of paper and they all just go in the bin. I think we should do more recycling.
Okay, thank you. From the Student Voice Conference to Mr. Ball's office, here's the concluding part of our interview.
How do you think the BFLI affected the school?
I actually do think that behaviour for learning has affected the school very positively indeed. When I show visitors around or when I go into classrooms myself, I find that invariably lessons are starting on time, students are arriving with their equipment, and there is very, very little disruption of learning. And while I recognise that many students themselves feel that this has been a little bit harsh, I've no doubt that more time, more productive time, is now spent in every single lesson, and that examination results for students will improve in the long term as a direct result of that.
What do you think an exceptional school is?
I don't have any doubts about an exceptional school. An exceptional school is a school in which young people achieve more at 16 and also in the sixth form than you'd have ever predicted for them when they came and joined the school at 11. So they do brilliantly well in examination terms. But it's also a school that offers them a lot of exciting opportunities and different things, more things than they would find in any other school. So things like the radio station that we've set up and projects like this, I think are very, very exciting. So a school needs to do all the basic things right to make sure that students are well taught and that they do fabulously well at examination level. But it also has to be an exciting place in which to learn and which to grow up.
Thank you, Mr. Ball.
That concludes the first edition of High Ground. We'll be back in the new year.